Okay, if there's one thing that I've learned over the years of doing YouTube, it's that I suck at making thumbnails. I'm okay as an editor, I'm okay on screen these days. I wasn't for a very long time, I was very shy and awkward. Now I'm kind of getting there. I'm getting a little bit more screen presence, which is great. But thumbnails, they've always been my vice. They've been the thing that I couldn't figure out how to do because it just didn't come naturally to me. With that said, what I found is actually a useful strategy for me personally is creating preset packs that have every single item that I need in it so that I don't have to go and dive into resources and things like that. I don't have to try and find something I'm allowed to use and then get a copyright strike later down the line. We've all been there. That's naughty. Don't do that. The way that I've started doing this, I've got a PSD, a Photoshop document project file thing that has every single one of my overlays. It's got color correction. It's got a grain film effect. It's got different textures and elements like lightning and fire and things that I normally integrate with my thumbnails. It's also got templates and presets and things that I use on a regular basis, and I'm actually making it available to you. Okay, so this is my pack inside of Photoshop. I'm not going to go through every single individual thing, but we're going to put together a thumbnail in the way that I normally would. So we also have this document over here, and this is the one we're going to be building up slowly. We're going to start by just grabbing this image over here of my face. Absolutely terrifying, but what I'm going to do is just shrink this down a little bit, squeeze me together ever so slightly to make me seem a little bit slimmer. I shot this on a 50mm lens, so it makes me look incredibly poofy. I'm thinking we're going to make it around about there, bring it over to the side. Now we're going to use generative fill in all of these edges. So to select all of the white boundaries, I'm going to go ahead and select the thumbnail image we have now. Then we're going to go to select and inverse, and that's going to automatically select all of the white areas. And then I'm going to expand like so, and we're going to go by, let's do 10 pixels. And then we're going to use generative fill to be able to expand that portrait. Okay, it's not the cleanest job in the world. We can tidy this up with a little gradient, but that will do. If I grab that gradient, we can then drag it over, and that just kind of smooths that transition from the black into the actual background itself. One more like so. And then I'm going to select and mask out my face. So Photoshop has actually just got a brand new update that lets you get really specific, especially around hairs and fine details and things like that. So now that we have that, we can just do this, drag it up, and then all of a sudden it pops from the background. Now this is where my pack comes in handy, because I can just go ahead and grab the guides and assets folder and then bring that over here, and then I have a rule of thirds, so I know that I need to kind of shuffle myself along a little bit. Or actually delete the background layer. I can then select all of these, then we can just shuffle over a tiny bit like so. I'm trying to get my face lined up with this little line right here. Then we can turn the guides and assets off and go back to the preset pack. Then from here, I think I'm going to need one of these, and one of these. I'm going to copy them, go back over here. I'm just going to pop these under the guides and assets. Now, the first thing that I want to do in this situation is create a social media post. So I have pre-made assets like this. That one will actually work perfectly for what I need, but there are different variants. A little logo container, but this is what I want. We're gonna make sure that the layer is unlocked, and then we can just drag it over here, downsize it just a little bit, and then we should just be able to drag that behind the profile picture like so. And you can see we've got this weird kind of black line around my ear. It's not that visible, and most people wouldn't probably care about it, but I do. So I'm actually going to go ahead and select the profile picture itself. Then we're going to go to select, modify, contract, do 2 pixels. That'll work fine. Control J, and then you'll see that because it just slims around the edges, you get rid of that little black line. And that's looking a lot neater. I'm going to go ahead and change the variables for this, such as the profile picture, the name, and the actual text for the post itself. Now, we're probably not going to be using all of this in a thumbnail, but again, that's the beauty of assets. You can easily just swap things around. So we've got the ChatGPT logo here. Just going to change the name, make the verification badge a little bit smaller, and just bring that over. Then for the handle, we're going to change this to ChatGPT official. And then the whole context of this thumbnail is that ChatGPT is going to be controlling my YouTube channel. So we need a little hook to go with that. I'm going to take control of your YouTube channel like so. Beautiful. Now I think I'm actually going to leave these in. They're easy to get rid of. You can just tap that and they will disappear. Oh, actually, I kind of like it without, you know. Right, so let's just select the rectangle. And then we can just shuffle this up like so. That'll do. I think that looks half decent. Now we're going to scroll back up to the top. We're going to minimize the post because that's all finished now. Now if we go ahead and toggle the textures and overlays, what you'll see is we suddenly get a white border, which I'm not too keen on, but I do like the film grain effect. It adds a little sense of drama. with this texture as well, the paper texture. I'm actually just going to grab that and drag it in between the two layers right here so that this little thing gets the paper texture. Personally, I think it looks better without. I don't know, let me know what you think. See, this is why I'm not a thumbnail designer. I'll just be here for ages trying to figure out which is the best option. We're done with this, we're done with the film grain. We could add a little bit of vignetting, but I think that would kind of be a little bit overkill. It already looks quite dramatic. Then if we wanted to, we could go ahead and turn on the color correction, which means that we could then make everything blend in together. Normally, I would use this if I have a bunch of different assets that I want to kind of blend and mesh together. But for this situation, I don't know if it really calls for it. Maybe we'll keep the brightness and the contrast because you can see that changes quite a bit of the texture and stuff on my face. I think maybe the warmer tone is a little bit too much. What about the cold one? A little black and white vibe. I think we'll leave that there for now. Just the brightness and the contrast will be enough. And then to wrap this one up, I'm actually just going to go to the hat itself. Just get rid of some of these hairs. It's the perk of having a Siberian Husky. Amazing dogs, but you cannot go anywhere without looking like you've been attacked by some kind of fur monster. Okay, and there we go. We can go in and we can tweak it, add more dodging and burning and things like that. But for now, I think just for a very basic template to demonstrate why having assets like this is handy, I'm happy with that. I think that's pretty decent. What I'm actually going to do, because YouTube has A/B testing now, I'm actually going to go ahead and do two variations of this. One with the warm tint. I feel like there's a lot of empty space here. Maybe I could shuffle this over, but I'm not going to play around with it too much. I am going to adjust the warm tint just a little bit like so. I'm actually going to export two versions of this, and I can use A/B testing to see which one people respond better to, whether it's the warmer version or the more natural one. So that gives you a little bit of a taster of everything that's in the pack. When you first open the pack up, you'll have this little splash screen. You can just go ahead and close that. You have a couple of pre-made templates for people, again, who aren't too familiar with actually making things like this. And these templates, everything here is customizable. So you can change the colors of the fonts, this little border thing. You can change the logo that's displayed here. You can change the thickness of the lines in the background. Now there are three templates at the moment. This one here is very similar to the one we just made. It has the same asset, this little text social media post kind of vibe, and then it's also got these little speed lines. Again, we can go into this and you have all of the assets kind of stacked into one folder right here, which increases the size a little bit, but it also means that these templates are more customizable. You don't have to play around with individual things outside of the template. But just for an example, let's say you want to get rid of some of these sun rays, you can actually just go in here and remove them like so, and you got a much more minimal thing. What if you don't like the border? Well, you can go up to textures and overlays and remove the border like so. Add in a film grain, change that whole texture of the whole thing. Then the third template is very simple before and after for things like apps or companies. Just again, making life easier for people who don't know how to create all this kind of stuff by yourself. And you will notice that we have some text templates right here, which we'll get into in a minute. Then of course you have your guides and assets. Now you can do these just by going up here and then making a guide, but then that means for every single guide you want to make the rule of thirds, you need to go 33.3, and then you need to go back up here, guides, new guide, 66.6, like so, and that just gets very tedious doing it time after time after time. So just having this little folder right here that you can toggle on and off makes life a little bit easier. Now you've already seen most of the color correction options, but if we just go into here, you can see that we've got a warm tint, we've got a cold one, we've got a green tint for more ethereal kind of looking things, and then of course a black and white overlay that affects everything underneath it. Same with the brightness and contrast, and all of these are completely tunable. So let's say you wanted the warm tint, but you wanted it a bit stronger. You just turn the opacity up like so, or turn it down. Then for the textures and overlays, all of these are customizable as well. So let's say you wanted a border, you could have the curved edges like this, or you can have nice, simple, straight ones, and both of these are really easy to customize the color for. You just grab this, you give it a little box, and then you can just go ahead and change that to whatever you want to match your branding. There are also things like halftone textures, and again, all of these are customizable as well. Now, some of the main assets that I use when I'm making thumbnails, particularly for my gaming channel, are things like lens flares and fire and lightning and stuff like that. So I've actually compiled a list of some of my most used assets. We've got a couple of variations of lens flares like so. Again, these are all ready to customize. If you just double click the hue saturation option, you can change the color of the lens flare to anything that suits your need. You then have a bunch of fire assets and lightning, embers and sparks, smokes. Got these little arrows, some of which are 3D with a little drop shadow, others are a little bit more minimal, like so. And as a rule of thumb, I think there are like 3 of each different element. And then all the way down here at the bottom, we have like clickbait, I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, words and prompts and things like that. So we have these little new icons, something's on sale, you can stick one of those on there, or a little danger like so. Now I showcased these earlier, but you have these little social media posts like so. I'm actually going to go ahead and change the color of the background just to demonstrate this bit a little bit better. But there are different variations of the social posts. So you have this little light theme, then you have a dark theme. Same for YouTube comments, you have a light theme and a dark theme. And again, all of these elements are customizable. You can hide everything here that you wouldn't want. You have a little logo container. Now let's say you didn't want my logo, you wanted something else, which is completely understandable. You just tap replace image, import image, find another logo that you want to use, and then press place. The only thing you're going to have to do here is just reframe it so that it fits inside of the frame, and voila. So now if you want to move all of this, you can just do so. Super easy. My live streamers out there are also a couple of presets for live icons. And of course we have some text presets. Now these are the things that I use quite a bit. I had a bunch of presets and I figured I would just kind of include as many as possible. Again, I will be updating this over time to add more things. We have a simple gold preset, white, glowing bold, and all Mr. Beast style, because I know everybody likes using those. And then we have combination of presets. So we have this little thing that we saw earlier on in a template. And then there's this guy as well. So again, all of these are customizable. So let's say we want to change the color of the blue into a green. You would then have to open up blending options, drag this over here. And then the only ones we really need to change are the gradient. So let's go for a green, something like that. And then, of course, you don't really want this blue background overlay kind of thing. So we just need to find which one it is. I think it's here. And then select the green like so. Turn it to a little dark green. Boom. Then the last two down here, I don't really use it that often, but I think, again, it's nice having options. But you have split frames, so these are frames themselves. So rather than trying to crop images into like half and half or even into threes like this, all we would have to do is just find the frame itself, make sure that it's unlocked. Do the same thing again, press import image. And this thumbnail here that we just made, for instance, that's going to be put into the frame, and then you can just expand it, do whatever you want to do, resize it. And it stays within these boundaries, so you don't have to worry about changing things around every single time, which is nice. And finally, we have the backgrounds, and these work great in here, or you can transfer them to a different project. So we have a very simple color toggle, so you can change the background really easily. We have some pre-made gradients, like so, and again, all of these are customizable. Got a couple of red ones, green ones, gray ones. We have textures for white paper or black paper. Your little Alex Hormozy kind of vibe over here. And of course we have a couple of stock images, so if you want to imitate Ryan Trahan, for instance, you got a little grass overlay right here ready and waiting for you. And the cool thing with all of these, if we go ahead and turn on one of these gradients, let's say we put the blue one on, I also have a whole little area for overlays, so we can add some vignettes like that. We've got grids and lines, and you can change the thickness really easily, like so. And these are all actually custom made patterns, which were a huge pain in the backside to figure out how to make. We've got a bunch of dots, again, keep saying it, but they're all customizable, so you can go ahead and change these to whatever suits your needs best. Got some speed lines and some sun rays. So you can really play around with all of the different settings here and make it suited to your needs specifically. So there we go. I hope that this doesn't come across as just a promotional thing for the thumbnail pack, but I wanted to use this video more of an example of showcasing how you can use thumbnail packs to speed up your process. Because normally if I wanted to have something like the social media post element, I would then have to create that from scratch for every single thumbnail that I would then create in the future. Or the speed lines, I would have to try and source those or remake them every single time. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make when they're just starting out on content creation and doing thumbnails and things like that. They try to keep everything original and organic, which isn't a bad thing, but it does slow down your process quite a lot. So whether you use my preset pack or you make your own, I hope this video serves as a form of inspiration in one way or another, and it helps you kind of figure out what is good to have in a pack. Even things like the color correction, helping everything blend together, and the vignette and the overlays and stuff like that. It all adds up. But either way, there's a link in the description if you want to check out my thumbnail pack. But for now, I love your faces. Thank you so much for checking out today's video. You're amazingly beautiful, and I'll catch you in the next one.